Mr. Mayor, we like.
Great, thank you for that. So today is May 3rd, 2023. The time is 7:10 p.m. and I'm calling to order the Baldwin Park City Council regular meeting. I'm going to ask Pastor Jackson and Pastor Flores if you could please lead us in an invocation. And at this moment, if you're able to, please rise.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council, and all those that are here today. If you allow me to also pray for the Muse family that's with us today as we remember the legacy of their mother who lived here in the city and gave and served so much. En Salmo capítulo 90, la palabra de Dios dice, Señor, tú nos has sido refugio de generación en generación antes que naciesen los montes y formase la tierra y el mundo. Desde el siglo y hasta el siglo, tú eres Dios. Grateful Father, we are grateful for your presence with us in our time of loss, in our time of hurt, in our time of not understanding. We're thankful that we have a God who is our refuge and our rock. I thank you, Lord, for our city. I thank you for our mayor. Thank you for our citizens and those who participate in our community. But we especially pray for the Muse family today. Lord, we are grateful for the life lived, that Terry lived here in the city and gave so much that honored you and served people. And yet, Lord, we have hurting hearts, wounded souls. Lord, and we pray, God, that your peace that goes beyond all understanding would fill their hearts. Would you comfort as a God of all comfort? Would you bring peace? Would you bring hope? Would you renew the joy that mourning will turn into? We ask all these things in the wonderful name of Jesus, who taught us how to pray. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, the honor, and glory forever. Amen.
Heavenly Father, we just worship you and we praise you. We thank you, Lord God, for the city of Baldwin Park, the mayor, city council, police department, and fire department, and all those that are working to make Baldwin Park a great city. And Lord God, I set myself in agreement with my colleague on Terry, Muse, and family, Lord. We just lift the family up, that the peace of God that will pass all understanding, that will comfort the survivors. In the name of the Lord, we pray. But Heavenly Father, we're asking you also in reaching into our schools and touching our children, Lord God, breaking down the walls of drugs and gangs, Father. And I'm asking you, Lord God, in uniting our families together, husband and wives, children and family together, Lord. And we thank you, Lord, for the businesses that are here in Baldwin Park, that it shall prosper. The schools shall prosper, Lord God. And Lord, we understand and realize that we're in turmoil now around the world, but you're still the one that's in charge. And we're asking for your mighty hand to be upon Baldwin Park. In the name of the Lord, we pray. Amen. Flag of the United States of America, the republic for one nation, God, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Estrada,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. Let the record reflect that Mayor Pro Tem Garcia is absent. Councilmember Avila. Here. Councilmember Ayala.
Here.
Councilmember Damian.
Here.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. So, City Attorney, is there anything to report out of closed session?
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier tonight, the City Council held a closed session as part of its special meeting agenda. All members were present except for Councilmember Damian and Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. There were 3 items on the agenda. The City Council heard presentation updates on each of those 3 items. Those are listed in the special meeting agenda, and we have no reportable action. That concludes the report.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. So before we move on, we do want to acknowledge the loss of a former council member and planning commissioner, Terry Muse. And I know that we have the Muse family here with us today. And so we just want to share with you that your loss is our loss, and that we are, hopefully you find some comfort in us mourning with you. Terry was a very exceptional person, and although I didn't get to spend a lot of time with her, the few times I had with her were always pleasant, and there was a mutual respect that I really admired and appreciated that came from her.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to take a moment, and I appreciate you saying those nice words about Terry, but I'd like to ask that we close our meeting today on behalf of our former council member, Terry Muse. Excuse me. Terry Muse passed on April 27th, surrounded by her family and close friends. She is survived by her husband, David, their children, David, Ariana, Taylor, and Sean. As Mayor mentioned, she was an exceptional person in this community. She was an icon in this community. Service to this community was endless, as we all know. She served our community as a city council member. She was part of Kaiser, a part of the Business Association, and recently part of Waste Management. Her services will be held on Tuesday, May 9th, with a rosary at 10 a.m. and her service at 11 a.m. At St. John the Baptist Church. Her interment will be following at Rose Hills, followed by a reception at the Julia McNeil Senior Center at 1:30 on Tuesday, May 9th. And I just want to offer my condolences to the Muse family and to David. And I just want to know that, as Mayor said, that you are all in our prayers, and your mother was an exceptional person, as we all know. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just echo my colleagues' remarks. To the Muse family, we sincerely, we're sorry for your loss. I know it's a great loss, not only to you, that she was your mother, but to our community. She served many years here. Many people loved her. Many people knew her. She spent countless hours working tirelessly for the betterment of our community. And just know that although she may be no longer here with us, that we will always carry her in spirit. And we here as a city are here to do whatever we can to help you with anything that we can help you with. So again, our sincere condolences goes out to you and the family. Thank you.
Mayor.
To the Muse family, friends, and the rest of her family, what can I say that hasn't been said already? My heart goes out to you in these difficult times. I understand sometimes we can express our feelings, our emotions, but it's hard to deal with. And I just pray that you get the strength to be able to move forward, protecting your family, your brothers, your sisters, your dad, because you still have each other, which is, I'm sure, what mom would want. I thank you for allowing us to have your mom in our community, because she made such a big difference. She was always smiling, she was gentle, she was a very kind woman. So my sincere condolences to all of you. As Councilmember Damian said, whatever you need, please reach out to the city, because you are part of the city. Your mom was part of the city, and you as well. So don't forget that. You are in our hearts and in our prayers. God bless.
Thank you. And we do want to share that city has released a press release. We have lowered the flags to have staff just to honor Terry Muse. And the city is here to support you in any way possible. This moment, we will move on to proclamations, commendations, and presentations. And we do have a proclamation declaring May as Older Americans Month, presented to Las Mariposas, a female ballet folklorico group. So at this moment, I will ask Las Mariposas to come up here and join us.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm here. My name is Yanira Calderon, and I'm representing our senior folklorico dance group, Las Mariposas. I'm also representing the seniors from Baldwin Park. We, Las Mariposas, have gone through a lot of struggles. Many of the people that you see here have gone through cancer. They are cancer survivors. They have gone through many surgeries in their bodies, arms, legs, hips, whatever. And there's a person who gets injections in her eyes every month or something. When we come to practice our dances, some of us come in knee braces, arm braces, or hand braces, back braces. There is one person here who has nuts and bolts in her ankle, but we all come to practice. When we get diagnosed by a doctor, the first thing we ask him, when can we go back to dance? The doctors laugh, but that's what we do. We love dancing. Dancing keeps us alive, keeps us going. Our ages range from 65 to 85. And we love to share our love for the Mexican music with all the seniors, wherever the groups call us. Sometimes we go to the other senior centers, convalescent homes. We go to the union meetings, wherever they call us, because they want a happy moment that we can share with them. We do that. So we have two reasons to do our dances. First, for us to stay alive and happy. Second, to help other people, all other seniors, all the people that call us, to help them have a moment of happiness by appreciating the Mexican music. We also appreciate very much Irma. She has provided us with choices, because to me, retirement doesn't mean you're dead. That's it, you're done. It doesn't mean that. Retirement means this is the beginning where you can make your choices. Irma provides the center with many choices for us to exercise physically, to exercise our brains. We exercise our brains, believe it or not, when we're dancing. We're learning the steps. We're learning sequences. We're learning when to turn to the left, to the right, when to pick up the fan. Many things. Our brain is working. We work our bodies. We work also our souls. Many of the classes that offer in the Baldwin Park Senior Center, Irma provides with counselors. They have support groups that will help all the people in need whenever they have to share. We also have our social group. We love to celebrate every birthdays. Irma provides the seniors with every month, on the third Wednesday of the month, she provides us with music, the best DJ in town, so us can dance with them. She gives us cake. We have a great time. If you have a time to go and see on the third Wednesday of the month, you're going to see many seniors dancing their hearts away. We enjoy life, and we just want to show all the other seniors that it can be done. If we do it with all the things that I told you that we have gone through, if we can do it, they can do it. And we call it senior power. So, thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Okay. I understand somebody's going to give us a word.
Yes, that's my cue to take over the microphone. Thank you. So I'm going to ask you to join us up here on the dais. Our city clerk will open up the door for you.
Okay, thank you.
You can one by one over here.
Caminen por ahí.
Oh yeah. So yeah, okay.
Ahí está abierto.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I believe, they did a really good job of introducing themselves. So any information that they might have missed, I'm going to go ahead and try to read it. So Las Mariposas are our seniors of the year. And the group was established in 2012, and they began performing in 2014 for various groups like the Holy Trinity Community Church, local convalescent homes throughout the county of Los Angeles. They also performed at Baldwin Park community special events such as concerts in the park, Downtown Street Market, Knott's Berry Farm, and even Disneyland, just to name a few. Aside from performing, they all love to engage with the community by teaching others the dance steps they have learned or simply lending an ear to those who are hungry for conversation. Some of those members in the group have overcome major health challenges such as cancer, knee injuries, and more. Their love for dancing has helped them to push through the pain so that they can continue to do what they love. The group's main mission is to spread the message of hope and demonstrate that you can do what you love at any age. As the group has often stated, empezamos como capullos y evolucionamos hasta convertirnos en hermosas mariposas. And Las Mariposas are composed of Aida Oliva, right here to my left, Deya Calderon, Dinora Agustin, Esperanza Lund, Guadalupe Hernández, Mariana Juliana Arroyo, Marisela Huffington, Mary Abelli, and Sylvia Osuna. And the Las Mariposas are a great example, and they're worthy of the recognition of seniors as the year, as they continue to show us how important it is to persevere, and that age is really not a factor for stopping you of doing what you love. So thank you for that inspiration. I will make sure that we all capitalize on that energy and take it with us. So on behalf of Baldwin Park, Las Mariposas 2023 Seniors of the Year, City of Baldwin Park, the City Council applauds you for your volunteer work, commitment, and the outstanding service you provide to the citizens and community members of Baldwin Park. Thank you for the favorable recognition you bring to our city. May 3rd, 2023, Emmanuel J. Estrada, Mayor, Monica Garcia, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council members Alejandra Avila, Gina Mayala, and Daniel Damian. Christopher Sands, City Clerk, and Joanna Valenzuela, City Treasurer. And I believe we have some other dignitaries here who would like to recognize them, and we're going to welcome Veronica Lopez from Assembly Member Blanca Rubio's office.
Good evening, everyone. Veronica Lopez, representing Assemblywoman Blanca Rubio. First of all, I also want to condole my condolences to the Muse family. So 60 years ago, President Kennedy declared May as Older American Month. And every May, we celebrate the great accomplishments and achievements of our older Americans. But we also need to celebrate those who play a vital role in helping our seniors stay active and engaged. So I would like to recognize the Julia McNeil Center, led by its wonderful leader, Irma, as well.
Yes, Irma. Irma.
Thank you, Irma, for your leadership. Las Mariposas are an amazing group of young ladies that inspire us all through your dance and music. And I don't have to say anything else about them because they expressed it perfectly. Thank you so much for you. You are truly an inspiration for us all. And thank you for staying young and active. Okay. I do have a recognition for you all on behalf of Assemblywoman Blanca Rubio. So congratulations to you all. So, Maria. Silvia. Maria Bell. Yanira Calderón. Yanira Agustín. Aida Oliva. Entonces, of course. Congratulations, ladies, on this wonderful recognition, well-deserved recognition, Senior of the Year.
Thank you.
You want to hand them the flowers?
De ladito. De ladito es mejor. Antes su certificado. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we all the same way?
Hold on.
Thank you.
And then we do have the proclamation for Older Americans Month, and the theme for May 2023 is hardworking, admirable, dependable, driven, and compassionate. So whereas older Americans are among the greatest treasures, providing invaluable links to past and wise counsel for the future, and whereas the gift of longevity will ensure that today's and tomorrow's seniors will continue making significant contributions to our families by giving of themselves freely and by sharing their wisdom and experience, and whereas it is important to acknowledge the contributions older individuals have made to our economic well-being in our communities and in the workplace, through civic leadership and mentoring, the seniors of tomorrow will be increasingly multicultural and multi-generational, more diverse socially, ethically, and economically than past generations. And whereas an expanding elder population will profoundly impact every facet of our lives, redefining our ideas of work, retirement, and leisure, altering our housing and living arrangements, challenging our healthcare systems, reshaping our economy, and altering social and public policy. And whereas this opportunity and challenges that await us as we begin a new chapter in human history require our continued commitment, the goal of ensuring that our senior citizens may enjoy active, productive, and healthy lives, and do so independently and safely. Whereas the declaration of Older Americans Month coincides with the recognition of May as Older Americans Month by the President of the United States, with this year's 5 words that represent the honorees are hardworking, admirable, dependable, driven, and compassionate. Proclamation is presented to Las Mariposas, a female ballet folklorico group. Now, therefore, I, Emmanuel J. Estrada, Mayor of the City of Baldwin Park, along with Mayor Pro Tem Monica Garcia, Council members Alejandra Avila, Gina Mayala, Daniel Damian, City Clerk Christopher Sands, and City Treasurer Joanna Valenzuela, do hereby proclaim that May 2023 as Older Americans Month and urge all residents to participate in appropriate ceremonies honoring these men and women. Yes, yes.
In the name of Las Mariposas and all the seniors of this community, I really thank you all for this award. We feel very honored and very appreciated. Thank you.
I just would like to thank our instructors. They're over there, Lily, Rafa, and Blanca, who is not today. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay, the same way?
As they're making their way down, I just want to say to Las Mariposas, congratulations once again. And just know that you guys make us all proud. You guys put us to shame. I want to have the energy you guys have. And Irma, I want to say thank you very much, because they just showed how much you mean to them and how much you do for them to be able to, like they said, just because they're retired, they don't want to just go home and die, right? You want to keep them active. So thank you so much, Irma. We appreciate it. And thank you, Mariposas. Thank you.
One more. Yes, and so May is also Mental Health Awareness Month, which is an incredibly important topic, especially now more than ever. And so we are going to move forward with the proclamation for Mental Health Awareness Month, and that's presented to representatives from Loom for Lupus and California Mental Health Connection. And I believe we also have April with us, who leads the efforts for the Mental Health Awareness Walk. So if you can join me now, that would be great. Looms for Lupus. We have April and May. On one side. So we're going to go ahead and present the proclamation for mental health awareness to Elisa, who is part of California Mental Health Connection, and they're actually a part of our Family Service Center, and they provide a invaluable service to the community. So we're going to go ahead and read the proclamation. Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2023. Whereas Looms for Lupus and Kaiser Permanente Educational Outreach Program strive to educate and increase public awareness, individuals connected to peer support services are better connected to their community and the services they have to offer. The faith community may provide a vital link in ministering and serving individuals and families in need of mental health services. And whereas the mental health and well-being of people in the United States is a vital issue that affects not only the quality of life, but also the health of communities, families, and economic stability, individuals with mental health conditions and other behavioral health disorders can and do recover with clinical treatment and social supports. including medications, psychotherapies, psychosocial rehabilitation, and peer support. And whereas it is important to acknowledge the contributions older individuals have made to our economic well-being in our communities and in the workplace through civic leadership and mentoring, an estimated 44.7 million adults in the United States experience mental illness. And whereas 65 to 70% of youth in the juvenile justice system have a mental health disorder, and an estimated 10.4 million adults in the United States experience schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and major depression and do not receive treatment for this illness. Now, therefore, I, Emmanuel J. Estrada, Mayor of the City of Baldwin Park, along with Mayor Pro Tem Monica Garcia, Council Members Alejandra Avila, Gina Mayala, Daniel Damian, City Clerk Christopher Sands, and City Treasurer Joanna Valenzuela, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Mental Health Awareness Month and urge all residents, businesses, schools, and families to help Looms for Lupus and California Mental Health Connection with their efforts to increasing awareness and reach out to organizations that provide accessible services for people with mental health conditions.
Thank you.
I congratulate the City of Baldwin Park. This morning from 9 to 2, Washington, D.C. had the same event for AP and older adults, and we're very thankful to be able to serve the community like everybody who's here. Thank you.
And I'm sure our city council will cover this, but next weekend on Saturday, May 13th, we invite the community to our 3rd annual mental health walk and event. The walk will start at 9 a.m. in the courtyard out here, and we're gonna make our way to Morgan Park. And from 10 to 2 p.m. at Morgan Park, we have over 60 vendors, and they're all informational vendors with lots of resources for our community.
Thank you.
Oh, you don't get one. No, that's Marco's. That's Danny's. Tall. This one. And you know we're very excited, and I'm very proud of City of Baldwin Park for not only doing proclamations regarding mental health, but also being at the forefront of changing the narrative around mental health and pushing for these types of services. This is the 3rd annual mental health awareness event that we'll have on Saturday, May 13th, and you're invited to join us at 9 a.m. for the 1 mile run, walk, bike, and then after that, at the finish line, there will be a vendor fair. And so we want to make sure that you're there. We want to make sure that you take advantage of this event. We want to make sure that you get the resources that you need in case anybody's struggling. And it is incredibly important that we do tackle the stigmas of mental health head on and make sure that people have access to it and that people understand that it is quite normal. We've seen the cases of anxiety spike in individuals, especially after the pandemic. So we know that mental health is something that affects all of us, regardless of socioeconomic status. We want to make sure that we convey that message. So at this moment, we will move on to public communications. City Clerk, is there anybody looking to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, we have only received one public comment speaker card, and that is from Lily Quiroa.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff. My name is Lily Quiroa, and I'm with Waste Management, area manager, and with me I have team members that work very closely with Terry Muse. I have Donald Taylor Stewart, and I have Josh Goldman here. I apologize. This is very difficult for us. We felt it was important to attend tonight's meeting to pay our respects to Terry Muse. We know that Baldwin Park was not only her hometown, but she was a council member, a leader in this community, and a giver, a philanthropist. We know that her leadership and everything that she did for this community is going to impact generations into the future. Terry was employed by Waste Management for 10 years. And during that time, she provided much value in the communities she served. In particular, she was very proud of the internship and the scholarship for high school students here in Baldwin Park. While we are still processing her leaving us much too early, our hearts are heavy with sadness. Every day since we communicated the news to our employees, I cannot tell you how many notes, comments we've received that have truly lifted our spirits. Some of our employees note what a great mentor she was to our young leaders in our company. Her great positive outlook. How nice and patient she was. One of our employees even lamented that she lost her fellow Formula One fan. We knew that she was an avid watcher with her husband. I personally have beautiful memories when last year, after a long medical leave, she came back in October, and she had enough energy to go with us on a field trip as a team to Glen Oaks and do apple pickings. And she enjoyed that day so great, and I'm so grateful to have experienced that wonderful time with her. You know, just this morning, I was on the phone with David, her husband, and we laughed. We laughed because we talked about what a force of life and, you know, force to be reckoned with. You know, her energy, her organization, everything about Terry was so lively. And we laughed about, you know, she's up in heaven now. She earned her wings. And we know that she's right now organizing heaven. We know that she is right now telling God and the little angels how to do things a little better, because that is just who Terry was, right? She was a doer, and it was everything for her community. And we know that that's what she's doing up in heaven right now. And, you know, these are the memories that and comments that we're getting from our employees that is going to bring some peace with time in our hearts. And I thank you so much for tonight and being able to be here present and honor Terry on behalf of Waste Management. We truly felt it was important for us to be here. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Good evening. I represent the East San Gabriel Coalition for the Homeless. My name is Mercedes Carrillo. I'm the treasurer for the institution. We've been in this area for the last 30 years. We were the ones in charge of all the winter shelters. Unfortunately, with the COVID, we were stopped. Our office is not located in the city of La Puente. We moved from Hacienda Heights to La Puente to continue our services. We still provide from there as much as we can. We are working with different cities, including yours, for the last 30 years. We are providing people with motel vouchers, with food. We are connected with the different school districts and giving the families the opportunity to find them when they are facing homelessness or if they need any other guidance. Our office has all the different connections where we can provide them the services that they need, so they're not alone. We give them everyday food, a hot meal. If we provide them with boxes of food to take home, anything that is given to us is given to the communities. Our offices hope that one day we will be able to provide again the homeless shelters, because they are needed it, as you know. Right now, this is as much as we can do. We also provide them with clothes. We help them to, most of them lose their ID for whatever reason that is. We help them, we guide them, we don't make them feel alone. That's basically what our organization has been doing for the last 30 years. We really appreciate it. And we are in companionship with the city of Baldwin Park to help us to provide that kind of services. I brought some, you can hand it. These are basically the people and the services that we have given from the last fiscal year, residents specifically from Baldwin Park. I will hand it to you and you can pass it along. Any questions? Because my time is up.
Will you be staying for when this item comes to the council? Okay, that way if we have a couple questions for you, maybe you can stick around.
I'd be glad to.
Perfect, thank you.
Mayor, next, we have a card from Ed Sauceda.
Afternoon, around the horn, everybody. My name is Eduardo Sauceda, representing my cousin Juan Manuel Sauceda, who passed away, 3600 Van Wig. I'm here for a little bit of sharing and caring. I do golf, and the reason I'm here is one of our Baldwin Park alumni that graduated from Baldwin Park. He is my good mentor, good friend. A little bit about him. Ronald James Brown, born March 31st, 1961. He is an American, former athlete, and a professional football player. He won the gold medal in the 4x100 meters relay in 1984 and played as a wide receiver in the National Football League. The reason I'm here, just like the lady said, I made arrangements with Karen Bass to help the homeless. I've been here upstairs, talked to a couple of people. Section 8 housing, Measure H, and the development of a community where the homeless, it's hard to pick them up, dust them off, and get them back into the chain of the workforce. It is a epidemic. I used to come here when Senator Rubio, that she sat in that chair. Another mayor, Mr. Estrada, good afternoon. All you city council, you know, I put on charity golf tournaments for San Dimas High School also. We bring in very much donations and contribute the Giving Back program, which I've been involved in giving back. A little bit means a long way to homeless people through my energy and through my resources, which I'm from the oldest union of the United States, Carpenters Union. My background is third generation carpenter. Mason was my grandfather. My dad was Milusos Ventura, and me, myself, Eduardo, which 6 years of drafting. I built the Twin Towers, had the honor to build the Twin Towers for the city of Los Angeles. Avenue of the Stars, Century City, that's my benchmark. And Larry Flint Casino, just to name the three top buildings. I'm coming here only to let you guys know I want to bring Ron Brown in here to see if we could energize whatever you guys need for the community. Thank you very much. And Everybody have a happy Cinco de Mayo. And we'll be talking to you guys soon in close quarters. Thank you.
Mayor, that completes all the speaker cards we've received.
Great. If anybody is looking to speak, that didn't fill out a speaker card, now's your time.
John Rios, resident. First, I would like to recommend the something's done with Public Works. Around 10 days ago, we had a bad accident right there at Fraser and Amar. The telephone pole was knocked down completely. Nobody called it in. I talked to Denny Damien that Sunday morning. He got me some information from the chief and everybody. But the people from the Public Works, I called Anthony, I would say around 7:30, 8 o'clock. And I told him what had happened. And within 20 minutes, he had the people from Public Works right there, picking up the pole, covering up the live wires that we had there. It's strange that nobody called it in at 2 o'clock in the morning. But that's not the first time that happens. But now that, talking to Anthony and to Sam, things are, I've always had that communication with them. Another thing is, this past Saturday, I had a problem. Well, not a real problem, but I called Ron because we had some food vendors where they weren't supposed to be. And within, I would say, an hour, we had a young lady that was on Saturday taking care of it. It's just these fruit vendors, they go from one place to another. We had the same problem with the same vendor, but at a different location. And Ron took care of it. I called one other code enforcement, which I have their numbers too, and I reported to him, but I called Ron to let him know what was happening. Like I was explaining to Ron, these people come from one place to another. Like they're playing checkers with you guys. But that's, what's happening nowadays. The flower vendors, they took care of it too on Saturday. The only one that we haven't been able to take care of is the one on Puente and Francisquito. We need to get rid of those people because not only are they using teenagers under the age of 15 to sell the flowers there. But thank you, Ron, Sam. I'll keep you guys informed. Thank you.
Good evening. Catherine Lozier, Community Library Manager of the Baldwin Park Library. Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the council and community, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. May is a very full month for the library. In honor of Foster Care Awareness Month, any youth or young person age 17 or under who comes to the library to get a foster library card also gets a free book. We definitely welcome all members of the community, and especially those who need the library most. And then in honor of Older Americans Month, there are several virtual programs taking place. One particular program of note is Get Devices through California Connect on Thursday, May 25th at 11 a.m. Log in and learn about California Connect. It's a no-cost state program that provides specialized telephones and accessories that help bridge communication and communication challenges for those who have hearing, vision, mobility, speech, and memory difficulties. And this is for adults and anybody who needs to sign up. Baldwin Park Library does have some in-person tech assistance. We're slowly building up more days, but at this time it's Wednesday afternoons from 2:30 to 6, and anybody who needs help can come in and help get signed up. Then in honor of National Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, we'll be having both an in-person program for teens and virtual programming. On May 6th, this Saturday at 11 o'clock, we'll be kicking off our Asian Pacific American Heritage Month programming, exploring the work of AAPI authors. We have an Asian Pacific Resource Center here in LA County Library, and our librarian, Katrina Lacerna, will be highlighting tremendous works and the rich literature of the AAPI community. And then in person at Baldwin Park Library on Saturday, May 20th at 3 p.m. Teens will be learning about shoji lamps, which became popular in Japan and helped transform those who lived in Japan from the 1600s through the 1800s, and teens will be able to take home their own homemade shoji lamp. Thank you so much for all that you do. Stop by and see us at the library. Thank you.
Thank you. And seeing that nobody else is looking to speak, at this moment I will move to close public communication, and we will move on to our consent calendar. Is there any items staff is looking to pull from the, council is looking to pull from the consent calendar? If not, I'd like to just discuss item number 3. So I'll make a motion to pass items number 1 through 6, excluding 3.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, so item on the number 2 on the consent calendar needs to be adopted as amended. It was brought to our attention that there was a clerical error on the roll call of this regular meeting held on April 19th. It is a minor clerical error that was already updated, but the minutes will have to be adopted as amended.
All right, so we will move to pass the consent calendar as amended, excluding item number 3. Can I have a second? City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Estrada.
Yes.
Councilmember Avila.
Yes.
Councilmember Ayala.
Yes.
Councilmember Damian.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Great, thank you for that, City Clerk. Enrique, do you want to just kind of update us on item number 3 and what the process will entail?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Thank you very much for calling this out because it does warrant a little bit of a explanation and a brief description of the background. We always talk about what the outcome of a meeting can be, or what can come about as a result of a meeting. So this is a perfect illustration of what that one power of a meeting can lead to. So in this case, through the efforts of Mayor Estrada, we convened a meeting with the MTA leadership, including the CEO Stephanie Wiggins and her executive team, or part of her executive team, and it was really more to touch base on the relationship we have with them with regards to the Metrolink station, which includes the entirety of the Cruz Baca Transit Center, but with the intent that the mayor had envisioned for us to be able to stretch that relationship, and the stretching included them helping us out with bringing the station up to current state of repair, being able to introduce some walkability and pedestrian-friendly improvements in what now we have created with the Susan Rubio Zocalo Park, a destination as well as a center and a hub for civic activity and the building of community. So as you start piecing all these elements together, this core of downtown, which includes our very own City Hall, Metrolink Station, the Zocalo Park, Morgan Park, and the downtown business district, creates this nexus of civic activity and community activity. And so then in that conversation, many points were touched upon, including the issue with railroad crossings, which, our city is essentially bisected by the railroad, right? And you have the south, you have the north, and then trying to get across from one side to the other while the train is either crossing or, as it has happened on some occasions where all the crossings are down, how does one get from one side to the other? So many of you in council had talked about a grade separation, which means having the railroad tracks and the street be at different levels so that, it could be uninterrupted flow for both the train and the cars. So Ramona Boulevard presents one such opportunity, but it's a huge undertaking. So one of the requests that we made to MTA was for them to lead a feasibility study for that grade separation at Ramona and the railroad tracks. And in the course of the meeting, we got some good vibes, if you will, from the chief executive officer and her team, but in the end, they were non-committal there. However, they followed up with a letter in which they offered to conduct the feasibility study on their dime, meaning they will pay for it, $500,000 worth of it. And so, in addition, they also offered to look at helping us with making improvements or bringing the Metrolink station, the Cruz Baca Center, up to a good state of repair. If you go there, some of the sidewalks or the platform concrete is cracked. The metal coverings are rusting in some areas, so they need some care. So they offered to help us with that. They also offered to bring their expertise in creating walkability and connectivity areas in the downtown district, which would connect the Metrolink station to the Civic Center, the Zocalo Park, and the downtown business district. So they offered us officially, as you will see in the letter that we have attached to the staff report, to do all of that at no cost to us. So I'm always ever amazed at what a meeting can bring about. Sometimes we hold meetings thinking, well, what's going to come out of this? Well, this is what came out of this meeting. So, in the meeting where the mayor, Sam, Public Works Director, Ron was in the meeting as well. Anyway, we were delighted, and I hope the council is equally, and I know you will, elated by their offer. So we're hoping that you support us accepting the offer, and then go on to engage with MTA.
Yeah, so this is a pretty big opportunity for the city of Baldwin Park. As you mentioned, the feasibility study alone is $500,000, and I believe they offered the matching funds for improvements and along with technical assistance. So all in all, this is a pretty big win for the city. We constantly talk about the, as Enrique said, the bisection and just the kind of the traffic struggles that we have here. And when you measure the railroad crossing here in on Badillo and you compare it to the one on Ramona, they're less than 13, or they're about 1,300 feet away from each other. So of course that creates a big collision, and it's in a big portion of our downtown. So it does kind of separate our downtown, which does I think it does make things a little bit more complicated for us. So doing this is a big opportunity, and we just want to make sure that we show our gratitude to Metro and Brian and Stephanie, who were very they were very easy to talk to, and they were very attentive, and they got to us. They got back to us pretty quickly. So, accepting this, we should show our gratitude to them. Is there any questions or concerns, comments from council? Not, we'll go ahead and make the motion to accept and receive and file item number 3. Can I have a second? City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Estrada,
Yes.
Councilmember Avila,
Yes.
Councilmember Ayala,
Yes.
Councilmember Damian.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Great. So we move on to our public hearing regarding fiscal year 2023-2024 annual action plan. So we will go ahead and conduct a public hearing regarding item number 7. So at this moment, we will officially open the public hearing for anybody looking to speak in favor or opposition. If you would like to speak on item number 7, now is your time.
Good evening, everyone. I love the train. My favorite every day.
That great separation.
Every 35 minutes to be exact.
That great separation would stop.
My office. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Love to see you all. Missed you all. It's been a few months. So I'm back in action. So tonight I'm here to speak upon 2 of the programs. The Department of Recreation does have 2 applications in. The first application is for our Family Service Center. Our Family Service Center is our one-stop shop for social services and support for our residents. The Family Service Center does provide a lot of different items. One of the biggest items we have going on right now is our monthly food giveaway, where we help people who are suffering from a food shortage or scarcity. We also provide different services for mental health, supportive services for housing, as well as food, clothing, shelter, personal hygiene products, and baby diaper care. So there's just a ton of items that occur there. And in order to offer these services, we do have to have staff members who provide the actual and administer the actual services and to also oversee the staffing. So the money that we apply for through our CDBG programs goes directly to fund a full-time permanent staff member to continue these services. The Family Service Center is something very near and dear to all of our residents who definitely take advantage of it. So without this, we don't have any other options other than to use more funds from our general fund. So this is a very important program. We hope you definitely consider the funding for the Family Service Center. The second program that we have applied for is our Youth Employment Services Program. And this actually affords opportunity to have jobs for youth in our community. All of the participants are between the ages of 16 through 21. This program is a feeder program for other job opportunities in our city as well as the local business community. And it provides job experience, job training, just some more interpersonal support as well as customer service skills. Something that's very important to know is that we have currently about 6 staff members who are full-time in our city, whether it's in housing, public works, recreation, who started out in this program. So for example, April Rojo was here just a little bit ago. She's one of our program coordinators. April Rojo started out in this program when she was in high school. She went through the program and then became a part-time recreation leader. She moved on to become a specialist, and she's been a full-time coordinator with us for about 15 years. So that's a prime example of investing in our youth and our youth giving back to our community. And April's also a longtime resident as well as a mom who enrolls her child in our activities. So it's a really nice thing to see that our programs build not only great human beings in our community, but people who want to bring their children back to get involved in our community, because her child also participates in our programs. So our Youth Employment Service programs does provide opportunities for about 15 or 20 kids a year. Each child gets, or participant gets about 200 hours. It is income-based qualified. So we don't necessarily just hire certain types of people, but there are different parameters for the qualifications. So that program definitely is a program that's very near and dear to our hearts as well. And it's been in existence for at least the past 18 years that I've been seeing CDBG program funding take place. And there is no other plan if we don't have this funded through CDBG, because we do not have the capacity to absorb it in our general funds. So those are our 2 programs, and I hope you consider them for tonight's funding. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Once again, Paul Flores, pastor, Church of the Redeemer. I just want to thank you for the consideration of our application for the grant CDBG regarding the food bank and our food program. We've been the food bank here in Baldwin Park for over 25 years. We had seen the need quadruple through the pandemic, where we also received additional funding from special sources during that time. The demand has not decreased post-pandemic, but our funds from external funding has decreased. So we ask for your consideration to allow us to continue to use that to purchase food and to help us continue to feed the city. And we just want to thank you for your consideration and the great privilege we have to serve the citizens and the people of Baldwin Park. Thank you.
Mayor? So I would like to speak in support of the CDBG funding for the graffiti abatement program. As you know or may not know, we do graffiti abatement in-house, and CDBG funding has been a huge part of making that possible. This allows us to be more responsive in abating graffiti, having it in-house. Our graffiti crew, it's somewhat of a regional expert on doing this. They do their own mixing. They do their own paint matching, and so it works really well. And I would like the council to consider continuing funding the CDBG program. And that's it. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor, council members. My name is Cynthia Espinoza. I'm with the Baldwin Park Police Department, and I would like to start off by saying thank you for your continuous support on two of our thriving programs, the Pride Platoon program and our domestic violence program. Both programs have been very successful throughout the years, and every year we work on them to make them better. At this time, I would start off with the Platoon program, which was established in February 2003, which is exactly 20 years. The staff is made up of 1 lieutenant, 1 staff, 6 officers, and myself. Fun fact, 5 out of our 9 officers are homegrown, including myself. This program is designed to work with our youth. The objective of the program is to help families and come up with solutions together and establish a good relationship between the officers, parents, school, and students. Each program is 10 weeks, and it's open enrollment for 40 students from the age of 14 to 18 years old. Every session consists of the following topics: bullying, cyberbullying, teen violence, dating, character development, gang prevention, gang consequences, physical training for 2 hours, clean up graffiti throughout the city, drug prevention, drug testing, sex education, CPR, nutrition, probation, active shooter, team building, college, and budgeting. Our students are referred by the schools, parents, courts, or probation office. We work really close with other law enforcement, professional speakers, hospital, courts, and the schools. And then throughout this 10-week program, the students do earn 5 credits for their high school. What we're trying to accomplish is to actually have 2 programs per the school year. And at this time, I would like to ask you guys to continue supporting us. We don't have the money on our budget, so the CDBG money has been very helpful for us to continue with that particular program. Like I said, it's been 20 years, and out of those 20 years, every year it just continues to get better. So that's the Pride Platoon program. Now, the second program that I want to speak and continue asking for your guys' support is our domestic violence program. That program was established in 2010, and I continue to make that a good program through our city. What we do with that program, it's basically when we have a victim, I contact the victim and I give them the resources throughout the different organizations outside of Park. Again, we continue to support them with counseling. We send them to court. I help them with restraining orders as well. And again, without your guys' help and the budget that you guys help us with CDBG, we wouldn't be able to continue these programs. So, at this time, do you guys have any questions?
We can have questions after everybody speaks.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else looking to speak? Not at this moment. I will hand the floor to council for any questions and comments that they may have.
Okay, so I do have several questions. God, where do I start? I think I'll start with Ron first. So Ron, according to the staff report, you're showing that we have for entitlement for 23 and 24, an estimated fund of $897,413. But then we have a prior year carryover of $805,291. According to what we're allocating in public service grants is $134,611. So are we only allowed to allocate 15% of the entitlement funds to the public service grants?
That is correct. So it's 15% cap on the allocated for 23-24.
So let me ask you, if we're only going to be spending $134,611 for the 23-24, does that mean that we're now going to have an additional $700 and something thousand rolled over again to the next year?
That's not the goal.
So I guess what I'm trying to understand is that, so this is my concern, right? That we have every one of these service grants, Church of the Redeemer, domestic violence, all of these are great things that we need. However, I think we need to allocate more funding to each and every one of these categories. There's not one that's better than any other in my eyes. I think that they're all needed, but I think that the money that we're allocating is not sufficient. It's not enough. So I'll give you as an example with the domestic violence. We're allocating $22,000 for that. However, that's only covering staff time. So my concern here now is that if Cynthia or our police department receive a call and there is a single mother out there, well, a mother who's gone through domestic violence, and she has to get out of that home, whether it's late at night, midnight, whatever time it is, with 1, 2, 3, or 4 children, what is she to do to house this individual with her children? Where is she supposed to turn to get these hotel vouchers to go and put them in a hotel? What is she to do if she needs diapers, if these are infants? What is she to do if these families need food? How is she going to have the budget or the money to be able to say, well, this is what we have in this fund to be able to use for that, right? That's just one of my concerns. The other is obviously the Pride Platoon, which, these are at youth risk. They're at risk, they're at risk youth. So for me, it's important that we continue to promote this program because it does help a lot of our youth that are at risk, turn their lives around. And one Pride Platoon or 2 a year is probably not sufficient. So we need to start allocating more funding to that. But my thing is that if we're rolling over, $800,000, what are we doing with, what else can we do with this money than it just sitting there? Because, if there's $805,000 that were rolled over, what are the plans for that money? If we're only allowed to be capped at 15%, now we're talking about over $1 million that is just going to be sitting there, used for what, when we can allocate to these programs?
Yes, thank you, council member. So in following, we have strict requirements that we have to follow from HUD, 2 fund sources, home funds, and also CDBG, which unfortunately is 15% capped. So 15% of that total amount is what we can spend on service grants. So understood that the need is greater than what HUD allows us to budget. So last year, for example, this year is a little lower. For example, last year's budget allocation for 15% was $136,460. So again, we are limited to what we can spend on our service grants, so which is 15%. Now the unallocated funds, we did have a presentation. We did want to go over that, but I'll just shed some light. So the unallocated funds that are indicated in the staff report, our plan with staff and our discussion is to come back to the city council to have a study session with the council to go over eligible activities on how those funds can be spent. But as far as service grants, unfortunately, we're capped at 15% that we can allocate for these types of programs that were presented before you tonight.
Okay, so
And those eligible activities we'll go over in detail, cover what CDBG has funded in previous years. And again, because of the limited staff resources, we did not want to allocate or specify activities that we didn't have the staff resources for. So we wanted to engage the council to go over those eligible activities that make sense, that allows us to spend the money quickly.
Okay, so after spending the 134,611, the 1.568 million that it's going to leave back in that fund, do we have a plan for what we're going to use that for? Is there something else that we can use that for since we're not able to use it for public service grants?
Correct. So the rollover, one of the items too, for example, in speaking with Public Works, is sidewalk improvements, street, ADA access, accessible improvements. That's just to name a few that have funded CDBG in the past. So we want to take this opportunity to engage with the other departments within the city, like Parks and Rec, Police, to see what activities are needed that CDBG can fund and are eligible to be funded. That makes sense. So right now there is not a plan. That's why we've indicated unallocated, because we want to come back. We have to spend that money. Otherwise we lose it. But our plan is to come back, engage the council so we can get some direction on what types of activities that can be funded out of CDBG.
Okay.
But
So
unfortunately, the service grants, we are capped. We cannot fund any more than what we're allowed.
Okay, so we are going to have a plan to bring back to the council so we know what we're allocating, or we're going to make the decision as to where we're going to allocate those funds, the remaining amount.
That is correct.
Okay. Now, my second thing is, if we were to want to increase to one of these, that means that we have to take from the other to increase the other.
That is correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so to my council colleagues, and I don't know, Enrique or anybody else, these are very important programs, and I think that we've kind of pushed it to the side because of funding. Do we know what we have in ARPA funds for the community set aside? And are we able to allocate additional funding from ARPA to add to these programs?
Right off the top, right now, we wouldn't have an exact amount of whether any uncommitted balance. I know that we keep really close tabs on how much has been committed by the city council from ARPA. You want us to come back, or I don't know if Rose has the answer.
Do you know, Rose? Do you know just a ballpark figure estimate as to how much we have in community set aside from the ARPA funds that we can possibly, squeeze a few more $1,000 so that we can kind of go down the list on here and allocate additional funding?
I need to get back to you. I believe most of them have been committed. And however, I think we can still spend about $100,000.
From community set aside ARPA funds?
Yes.
Is that all that we have left?
I have to double check.
Okay. So
The reason I said that because some of the program we originally allocated has not been exhausted. That's why we might still have some funding available.
Okay, so do we have to, because we have to approve this tonight.
You can grant the grants, you can award the grants here tonight using the CDBG funding, and then direct us to come back at the next meeting for ARPA or any other.
Okay, so I don't know if any other my council colleagues want to, respond, talk to this before.
I definitely think there should be enough. Just thinking about the toilet replacement program, I think we had allocated $800,000 originally, and we brought it down to $600,000 before rebates, right? So there alone, we freed up some money. So whatever, we should have more than enough to cover whatever grants you want to provide. I think that's good direction. We should.
Right.
And then we should look further into the into CDBG. Sam, the graffiti removal, when you use the 25/611, you use that for private property as well?
No, so we use it strictly for the public right of way. There is other fundings that supplement this funds that allows us to do some certain work in the private property.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to, it's interesting how Councilmember Damien and I have the same areas of concern here. I have to agree of all the programs that were discussed, how important it is. Personally, I have seen them all in action. Working with the school district, I have sent people to visit and talk and get help in regards to domestic violence. And that was one of my concerns, you know, them not having enough funds to provide vouchers for hotels and what have you. It's important to have not only our staff there, but for that staff member to be able to provide additional services to those that are in need. When it comes to the Pride Platoon, 2 programs sounds great. Again, I was specifically involved with that program when I worked at the junior high, and the need of putting students into that program is very high. And it's my understanding, I'm not at the junior high anymore, that program continues to be a need. I recall having to turn parents away because there wasn't enough spaces to put our students in. And I recall the change in these students once they completed that program. So I definitely agree that the Pride Platoon domestic violence definitely needs more money to be able to provide more services. Maybe the Pride Platoon program provide more field trips and outings for these students to see another side, another way of living, another side of the world. The youth employment program, another great program, because a lot of our students may not have the means from their parents, so they want to work. They want to be able to help their parents and help themselves. So every single one of them, not the Church of the Redeemer, my goodness, I see the lines around the corner to Ramona Boulevard when you're giving the food away and the need for that. And yes, the lines have not gone down even though the pandemic is over. They remain the same, and the services that are being provided are amazing. So we do need to find another way. I know we have a cap on this particular funds, but we definitely need to find another way to be able to provide additional funds. So looking into ARPA and making sure that we are bringing it back to the community is very important. So I wouldn't have a problem approving the funds that we have now, keeping in mind that we need to continue to look for funding for all of these programs. Our new tax initiative, hopefully our group of people that will be making decisions are well informed of the programs that are being provided and the need of having more funds for them. So hopefully we can let them know and talk about these programs in those meetings so they can understand how much the need for funding is there as well. So thank you all of you who applied. I definitely agree that we need these programs in our city. It's what's moving us forward. It's what's moving our youth. It's what's making those men or women that are afraid to speak out when they are having trouble at home. So thank you.
Mayor, I just want to comment. I do appreciate everybody coming out and speaking on behalf of their programs and their requests for money and being a commissioner on recreation and community service. Having to kind of, go through this whole program with you initially was really hard. I remember, everybody trying to vie for monies. So I appreciate that these fundings are available. I agree with the direction of what we're saying in terms of approving it now and maybe coming back, seeing if we have some ARPA funds so that we can supplement. And I encourage a little more for graffiti removal. I support Public Works in that wholeheartedly. So I would agree with moving forward with it and then hopefully getting some more monies for these needed programs. Thank you.
I just want to add, I mean, you bring a really good point. And we really think about how these are all tied together, just the at-risk youth. You know, a lot of those at-risk youth are going to grow up, they're going to get older. You know, they might have the, they might have they might be struggling with something, and then that in turn could turn into domestic violence. You know, the highest percentage of domestic violence incidents happen with people within that range of 16 to 24. So I think it's a great idea. So council member, if you want to give direction.
Yeah, I just, if Cynthia can come to the point really quick. Cynthia, I have a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind. Can you just shed some light on the domestic violence? I know I gave some descriptions of possibilities, but you're the one that deals with this.
Right.
Have those situations happened?
Yes, they have actually. Last year we had 4 families that, okay, so in domestic violence is really hard. Sometimes they do not want to go into shelters. I understand that there's domestic violence shelters, but we also have to keep in mind that a lot of these victims are not ready to go into a shelter because then they're going to be held on 72 hours or whatever the restrictions are for shelters. So what we've done, we've actually had our officers and ourselves pay for the hotel stay for some of these victims. So last year I reached out for some donations and I got a donation from Blanca Rubio's office. She gave me $5,000 for the domestic violence, which I keep everything, receipts and everything. So we had 3 families with children, and I was able to work with one of the hotels outside our city, again, because they want to be out of the city from here. So basically it's more like a safe home. We need somewhere to be able to put these victims in for a couple of hours or sometimes even just one day or the weekend. So that's how we take care of that. A lot of times it's really difficult because these things, incidents happen in the middle of the night. So then our officers don't have, I'm not here in the middle of the night, so they'll call me up. I have to sometimes call the chief. I need the chief's credit card so we could actually locate them in the hotels. So when I can't do that and we can't have access to the credit card, then our officers do that. So there's been times when I've had to come out and go to the hotel to make sure that they're already set in there. So with that, I've been able to also we buy food. If I don't have the money, our officers go ahead and buy the food for them. And then what I do, I keep all the receipts, which is they give me the receipts, and then I go ahead and put on so we could get the petty cash. So that's how we work with that. That's how I'm able to make sure that these victims stay so they can have a place to go at in the evening for a couple of weeks, days.
So in other words, if you don't get donations from wherever you go asking for,
we pay for it.
You pay for this out of pocket.
I've done it myself. I mean, unfortunately, I've been there, so I know how it is when you're trying to go somewhere and you don't have somewhere to go just for the night. Sergeants have done it. Our officers have done it. And I mean, that's what we do. So sometimes it's really hard because it's like, well, we should be able to have access to that.
May I say something really quick? And I want to thank you, all the officers and yourself, for stepping up and doing that and helping, because like you said, you've been there, you understand how it feels to feel lost and have nowhere to go.
Right.
However, they shouldn't have to do that. They shouldn't have to be scrambling in the middle of the night to be able to help a family find a place to sleep, to be able to help a family to feed them. We shouldn't have that need. We should be able to have money allocated for these programs so they're there ready for her to either use a credit card that is available specifically for that program, that you don't have to call the chief, and that whether it's you or an officer that's on duty on that night, use that credit card to get a room, to get food, and allocate the services needed for these families. It is extremely important that we make sure and we work on making sure we have these funds available. I mean, the money that CDBG gives us, that's great, but we need to, as a city, do more for this type of program and the other programs. And I'm sorry for interrupting you, but it's just so important that we are well funded and our staff is not struggling in the middle of the night. But again, thank you for doing that. Please feel free to call me. You have my number. When you guys come across something like that, I would be more than willing to help. I know Councilmember Damian and my colleagues are more than willing to help as well. You shouldn't have to be doing this on your own, But that's why as a city, we need to work on getting more funding for that.
And again, this is for like a safe home. These are, like I said, they're victims that are not ready to go into a shelter. I mean, shelters are a little bit different. It's not that we don't have shelters out there and I can't reach out to them and do an intake. But the minute that it's happening, that's when the police department has to have a place or we have to have some sort of funds so we could actually act at that moment.
Right.
Cynthia, I want to thank you. And then just as a side note, until we get you some more funding, I belong to an organization called St. Vincent de Paul, and we service the community members here in Baldwin Park. So if you ever have someone who needs a hotel stay, reach out to me, send me a text or whatever. We just need to do an intake form, and then we can go ahead and just take it to the board really quick, take a vote on it, and we can place them for a couple of nights at the hotel.
Okay, and one more thing I want to make really clear. We used to be able to do it over at the Motel 6, so just before we had a little bit more of an easier access to that, but now we can put them in there.
Thank you so much. I don't know how my colleagues feel, but I know that the mayor mentioned with the toilet program that we brought, that was the last program that we worked on. And since we did get some savings on there, I'm sure we can scrape $100,000. I don't want to push this over to another meeting. I would like to allocate an additional $100,000 from ARPA funds. And why don't we just go down the list now and figure out how we're going to allocate additional money to each program? That way they know what additional funding they will be receiving.
Yeah, so how many? 1, 2, 3, 7.
There's 7 organizations.
Yeah, you don't want to bring it back?
So approve it as it is and then just bring it
And then
back
we'll
up.
bring
Yeah,
it back
because
to allocate the money.
The identification of ARPA funds has not been agendized.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not listed on,
And that way Rose can give us a better number. Maybe there's more, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
All right.
sorry. So with your direction, would you be okay with considering a couple more nonprofits, like some of that, we have the Family Service Center?
Yeah, I mean, we can take a look at what we have. I mean, if, obviously, once we know exactly what amount we have in ARPA funds, we can then at that point in time allocate additional funding to these as a priority and then bring those in as well.
We need to put it on an agenda.
That's something that we could do for the next agenda.
Next meeting?
That's
Yeah.
okay with you?
Yeah.
The sooner the better.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so I will make a motion to approve item 7 as is with the public service grants allocations as is. And then we will bring back to the next council meeting a ARPA balance, and then with a new list of allocations to the organizations that we will be adding, and then we'll allocate the funding there.
Great. Second?
Second. Oh, yes.
All right, City Clerk, first and second, go ahead and do a roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Just clarifying that the second was Councilmember Avila.
Correct.
Councilmember Damian.
Yes.
Councilmember Avila.
Yes.
Mayor Estrada.
Yes.
Councilmember Ayala.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Great. So we are done with that. We have the reports of officers, home key program, notice of funding availability, round 3 agenda item. 17 for the regular meeting of the County of Los Angeles Board of Supervisors approving joint application by the county and Weingart Foundation to participate in the home key round 3 program. Who is?
I'm going to open it up, Mayor, and I want to first thank the county team because they've been very patient, and the Weingart team in waiting for this item. But I just want to give you a very, very brief background because this being one of the council's highest priorities, addressing homelessness in the city, you showing the leadership with both the Serenity Homes and Esperanza Villa, and charging your staff, in this case, the homelessness task force, and your staff, which includes Manny, Eurico, all the department heads, the chief, and so we brainstorm on ways to carry out your direction, and somewhere in our radar was this idea of the Grand Park Inn Hotel as being a potential acquisition for the city. And at the last meeting, if you recall, the county made a great presentation on the conversion of Motel 6 to a permanent supportive housing project. And in that vein, it came to light that the county and the Weingart Foundation had already taken one step ahead in being able to go after the Grand Park Inn Hotel for a permanent supportive housing project. And so the stars began to line up. We're on the cusp of a great opportunity here. And Daniela is going to tell us what that opportunity is.
I feel like I'm becoming a staple at your all's meetings, and I'm sure I'll be back. But you all know me. I'm Daniela, the Housing and Homelessness Deputy for Supervisor Solis. I won't be long. I just want to, again, thank the mayor and the Baldwin Park City Council for exploring this opportunity with us. I think that we, the county is committed to continuing to provide more support for cities that want to step up and open more housing for their unhoused residents. And I know that as we continue exploring these partnerships, the county is committed to finding opportunities for Baldwin Park residents to benefit from these sites. And I know that Liz will be able to share a little bit more about what that might look like for this project, but it's very similar to what we discussed in the last one. So again, I just want to say thank you. It's always great to have cities that are willing to step up and willing to welcome these projects into their jurisdictions. So with that, I'll hand it over to Liz from the Homeless Initiative.
Good evening. Nice to be back here again to talk to you about this exciting project. I'm going to provide a little bit of background and context for the project, and then I will hand it off to Senator Murray, who will speak on behalf of the Weingart Center Association about the specifics of the project. If we could go to the next slide, please. So as I said, I'll provide an overview of the program. I did speak about that last time, so just a refresher, and then tell you about our process for Home Key Round 3, how the county has selected co-applicants like the Weingart Center, and then talk about how we will collaborate moving forward. We're very excited to collaborate with the City of Baldwin Park right from the beginning on this project, and then tell you a bit about the next steps. Next slide, please. So as you know, Home Key is a state program that provides funding to local jurisdictions to acquire and develop homeless housing. The goal is to develop it quickly so that we can house people as soon as possible and move them inside and off of our streets. Next slide, please. So for Home Key Round 3, the county is applying to the State Housing and Community Development Department with co-applicants. We'll apply jointly with developers who have the expertise to convert the motels we are looking to acquire into permanent or interim housing. We went through a solicitation process to identify qualified co-applicants. And then once the co-applicants were qualified, we invited them to submit specific proposals for projects. So this is the process through which the county selected the Weingart Center Association to be a co-applicant for the Grand Park Inn, located, as you know, on Francisquito Avenue here in Baldwin Park. Next slide, please. So as a part of this effort, the county will provide local matching funds to supplement what the state is providing. In this case, the county will provide about $14 million in its allocation of American Rescue Plan Act funding. This will be combined with the state's Home Key funding. So in our discussions with the Baldwin Park staff, we talked about options for collaborating on this project and determined that it would make most sense for the county and Weingart to be the co-applicants, kind of sparing Baldwin Park some of the administrative burden and risk, but that we would be partnering with Baldwin Park every step of the way moving forward. The county will be prioritizing local residents for this project, and we have made progress in our discussions within the county to ensure that this will be possible. We are excited to also partner with the city to potentially use the city's project-based vouchers as the rental subsidies for this project, and are going to continue those discussions with staff. Next slide, please. And I will pass it off to Senator Murray.
Good evening, council members. Nice to see you again, Enrique. I want to thank the staff for working with us and having a pretty productive conversation, I think, in preparation for tonight. Also want to offer my condolences to the loss of your community member, Terry. I know how that affects a community, and I hope one day I'll be as active as those seniors. And this morning I felt like that time was coming up pretty soon when I woke up. I want to first talk about how the Weingart Center is as a partner, because I think that's an important thing. We started in 1983. We operate a bunch of interim housing and permanent supportive housing facilities in Los Angeles and in Los Angeles County. We're also a developer of permanent supportive housing projects. Having come from essentially where you sit, I understand that the services we provide are funded by the taxpayers in the community. And so we try to endeavor when we do our projects to make sure they have as minimal impact on the community as possible. Go to the next slide, please. These are some of the projects we have done before. The top left one is the Hilda Solis First Care Village, which happens to be an interim housing project. The others are all permanent supportive housing projects, but that bottom one is in Westwood, in a relatively affluent area of the city of Los Angeles, and we were able to work with the community to get that entitled. One of the things that we do is we try to make sure that we upgrade a community, that it is not something that becomes a burden on the community. We do things like landscaping and lighting and design and fencing. We have someone is there to work with the clients 24 hours a day. During the daytime, we have case managers who provide wraparound services. In the evenings and on weekends, we have security. You will find that when we design our places, we create a bunch of areas within the project for the clients. Like, for instance, this particular, the Grand Park Inn has a pool. One of the things we propose to do is fill in the pool, which is a liability issue anyway, and make that a pet relief area. We have other outdoor areas so that nobody is hanging out in front of the building, nobody is smoking in front of the building. There is not a lot of activity in and out of the building. So we try and control the, we're not responsible for the neighborhood, but we try and control the activities that happen at our building and within our building. And I also, let's go to the next slide, please. What's on the thing. But we have wraparound services, as I said, and we're trying to we want to emphasize that this is a permanent apartment. It is just like any other apartment in your city, except it is being used to house people who are currently unhoused. And the benefit of that is obvious to the community. Again, we appreciate your willingness to have this discussion about housing your unhoused population. And I want to emphasize what Liz said, that one of the things we're trying to do is to be able to geographically locate and take care of those unhoused residents of the city of Baldwin Park. One of the ways that you can help do that is by utilizing as many of your Section 8 vouchers as possible, because then the applicants to be tenants in this project have to go through your housing department. And that gives you lots of control and input over who gets housed there. And so again, we'd appreciate your support for the project and a potential allocation of some vouchers. And now I'm happy to take questions.
So, I mean, it's definitely I think it's a neat opportunity. I mean, one of the reasons that we were following it is, because not only do we want local control, I think that if there's any city that's deserving of local control, it's Baldwin Park. We've set a high standard, and we've set a precedent for everybody else to follow. Tiny homes for individuals, and then of course we had the groundbreaking for the tiny homes with families. And we've seen two newborns be at that facility, and that says a lot about the need here in the city of Baldwin Park. Not just with homeless individuals, but people that are on the brink of homelessness. I remember a while back, and I don't know if it's still relevant, but I know that for a very long time, Baldwin Park had the highest eviction rate in the county. I don't know what it's at now. I know that it was at 1% before, and so we are seeing a lot of people lose their homes, and a lot of those people are multi-generational families, right? And so when we, at least in my point of view, when we're pushing to take over the Grand Park, and it's because it's of local control. So currently, I know LAHSA uses it, and I'm sure other entities use it to offer, the temporary shelter through vouchers or whatever it may be. But it does create, sometimes it creates a strain on our resources because we just don't have the capability. I know that it's I'm not mistaken, the Grand Park Inn sometimes can be a high call location. With permanent housing, as you said, it's permanent. We should have a more stable population there, which should benefit the the Baldwin Park community and its residents, especially those that are in need. So that's just my concern, making sure that this is something that's going to be it's going to come in as kind of the complete opposite of how Motel 6 came in, right? And making sure that it's prioritizing the people that are here.
Yeah.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. As the mayor said, we have taken the lead here in the city of Baldwin Park in helping house those that are in need and, of course, those that want the help. As you know, we opened Esperanza Villa and we also opened Serenity Homes for Family. So that's considered transitional housing. So they are waiting for permanent housing. So my goal would be to look at those families first to make sure they get transitioned into permanent housing, and anybody else, because those residents are Baldwin Park residents, they are priority. And also anybody else coming into our transitional housing, to make sure that they're looked at first, that they are prioritized, because we are taking the lead. We as a city are doing something for the homeless, and we are making sure that they are getting services. So I understand all the homeless deserve a place to live. I understand that, but I want to make sure that we focus on our residents first. I also want to make sure that the wraparound services, I know you said that you're going to have 24-hour service or wraparound service security to make sure that there is not people outside hanging out, doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So as a city, I want to make sure that if we do encounter a problem, that there's somebody that we can immediately contact if we see that things are not being done appropriately, that maybe things are falling through the cracks, that we have somebody responding to the situations. I also want to make sure who will be maintaining the facility, not only the outside and the facade, but the inside of the apartments, because you will be the landlord. So I know we have a lot of landlords that don't take care of their facilities, that people are living in dirty, infested facilities with broken down things. I want to make sure that that facility is being kept up to date, that whenever ever a tenant reports something's broken, that it's immediately taken care of, because they, as you know, they deserve to live in a clean place where everything's working. I think it's great that we continue to focus on our homeless, but local preference is important to me. We need to continue as a city to work with our homeless first and make sure the problem doesn't continue. The numbers have dropped in the city of Baldwin Park, and we don't want them to continue. We want to make sure that our residents feel safe, and we don't want them thinking that we're bringing a facility where we're just going to be bringing homeless from all over LA County. Of course, we will have some from outside of Baldwin Park, but I want to make sure that those people living at Esperanza Villa and Serenity Homes are priority to get housed at any given minute, because as soon as we have a vacancy in Esperanza or Serenity, we have somebody else moving in. So I want to make sure that they are priority and that they get looked at first. And of course, working with our Section 8 families that may be within the city of Baldwin Park, that those get priority as well. It is a great program. I think if we work together as a city and we make sure that the program is running properly, that the facility is being kept up, and our families are being respected and treated with respect at all times and provided the correct services, because I don't want it. I know a lot of cities to say, well, we're working with the homeless, but it's just kind of from here out. If you go into our Serenity Homes and you go into Esperanza Villa, you see how well kept up these places are, because our Public Works Department makes sure that it's kept clean, that everything's working. Our Parks and Recreation make sure, here's Eurico right here, they make sure that the services being provided are all in line with what they're saying they're providing. So we are making sure that all the services are there, that it's not just a promise, that it's being kept up as written on the contract or what have you. So I think it's great that we continue to help our homeless, but I do want to make sure somewhere in that contract that our Serenity Homes and Esperanza Villa residents are going to be given priority, as well as our Section 8 here in the city of Baldwin Park, because we need to continue moving forward and moving our city forward, because we are the example of the San Gabriel Valley in reaching out to our homeless. Of course, we can't help every single homeless, but we want to help those that do want the help, and I want to make sure it's being done with dignity. Thank you.
If you want, Mr. Mayor, I'll address your last question first. The buck stops with me. You will know how to contact me. On the back of our presentation, which I think you all have, there are email addresses for both our development director and our chief operating officer. We maintain the building. We provide the services. There's not a separate company. There's nobody to pass the buck to. I encourage you to go visit some of our other projects, particularly the Hilda Solis Care Village, which I think some of your staff may have seen before. Daniela can certainly speak to that. It is a place where you will find it's clean and it's well maintained. The other thing to note is that we have case managers. There's one case manager for every 20 clients. And so not only are we waiting for a client to say something is broken, but our case managers are required to contact each of their clients each day. So they will be going into those rooms and where the clients are sometimes maybe not as aggressive about some of that stuff, we take it upon ourselves to make sure that we will maintain that building. And again, I encourage you to visit Hilda Solis Care Village or any of our other projects to make sure of that. But we are providing that wraparound case management service. It's not just security. It is not just even housing navigation. We have a person for every 20 clients who it really is wraparound services where they are trying to help that person maintain stability.
And sorry to interrupt, are you providing supportive services for our youth? As you know, as we talked about before, this is Mental Health Month, and a lot of our youth need mental health support. Do you have services for them?
We're providing are for the residents of the building.
There.
Yeah, so that's another good point, is that there are not people coming to the facility to get service.
Right.
So we are focused on those people who are tenants in the building, and I think Liz will speak a little bit more to the prioritization of the tenants. But again, emphasizing that we're hoping that most of the tenants will be filtered through the City of Baldwin Park Housing Department, and then that would be your place to exert that preference and priority.
And this facility is for adults only, not families?
It's not suitable for families just because of the size of the rooms, but it would
Okay.
be a great option for your tiny home village residents to have throughput, to leave, to move on to permanent housing so that you can utilize the tiny homes for other people who are unsheltered. So I think it will complement that program really well. I just wanted to add a few things to what Senator Murray mentioned. The services are overseen by our Department of Health Services. They monitor all of the contracts. They do have a contract with, an explicit statement of work, and they are regularly in touch with the staff there to make sure that they're kind of meeting the standards of the Department of Health Services. So we're really confident in those services. The motto of the Housing for Health team at the Department of Health Services is to do whatever it takes, and they really do that. We will prioritize Baldwin Park residents. We absolutely commit to that, and we will make sure that it happens and be able to report back on that.
And I know this question may not sound right, but I need to ask, are you going to be housing people there with severe mental health issues?
Again, I think we'll house, frankly, anyone who comes through the City of Baldwin Park Housing Department. And so there are some appropriate filters for whoever the city might deem appropriate for that. I mean, our goal is to help homeless people, and many of them have lots of problems. Some of them have very few problems. And I'm sure there's a mixture of them. But again, we are wanting to partner with the city in determining who the tenants are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
add really quickly to vouch for Weingard and also Homekey and also the Department of Health Services. As Senator Murray mentioned, the supervisor has her Care First Village. It's located in Chinatown. It has her name on it. So it's obviously a site that she cares a lot about and cares a lot about being run well with minimal problems and minimal impacts to the community. I have Senator Murray's direct phone number. He and I probably, for better or for worse on my end too, because anytime there's a problem, he calls me. But just want to vouch for the fact that Senator Murray is someone who's very accessible. And if you guys have any issues, you can call him. But also, since it will be a county site, that the supervisor's office is there to provide support as well if you are having any issues with the services that are being provided there.
Thank you. And I want to thank you. And I know that the project is going to look beautiful. And I know that you guys are going to do great with the services that you guys provide. However, as you guys heard, our biggest priority is we just want to make sure that our residents here in Baldwin Park receive priority here because, we've already got Motel 6, we've got 2 tiny home villages, and this is going to be the 4th project that we have in our city. So by us having these many projects and still having, so many homeless people out on the street, we need to show something for it. So we need to prioritize our Baldwin Park residents. We're losing the occupancy tax on that hotel, so that's funding that we're losing to the city. Ron, do you know how many project-based vouchers we have?
Project-based vouchers, again, I apologize, I don't have that number on me, but we're probably approximately a little less than like 200. But
Is our housing manager here?
yes, she is.
Would she know how many?
Not offhand, I have that number in my office. I don't have it with me, but
So
we
maybe
have
about 200, you said?
about 200, yeah.
Okay, and how many units are going to be in the?
109.
So
Plus our Esperanza Villa residents. I mean, you would think these would be priority,
well,
right?
we could give them a project-based.
So what we're thinking we will do next, depending on what your action is today, is that we would then have a discussion with council on how many vouchers you would like to dedicate to this project.
Well, can we
They don't have
allocate
to know that
100%?
today. We don't have to commit that today.
But can we allocate 100%? I mean, if they've got 109 rooms and we've got 200 vouchers, can we allocate 109 vouchers?
You could, yes.
I mean, and that way, if we have families from the Serenity, Esperanza Villa, we can give them a project-based voucher.
But it's similar to the ARPA question earlier, right? Because we didn't put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we also just want to caution, we're also in working with them, engaging with the county on technical assistance. There are rules and regulations that we have to follow before we commit any set number, and that's something that we've been working with the county.
Okay.
if you can
That we
give us
will be
those
working,
rules.
so that
I
way we
mean-
can understand exactly what that number is.
So this is my thing. I mean, you guys knew that these questions were going to come up. I mean, you know how adamant we are about us prioritizing Baldwin Park residents. So these are questions that you guys knew were going to come up.
So,
You guys
so,
should-
so our intent
without-
here, Councilmember Damian, was that if the only way to ensure local control would be by providing the vouchers, that's one consideration. But
Okay.
we're also hoping the county can put something on the table that still allocates local control, but them, without the need for the
I
vouchers.
mean, whatever you guys
We
can
we
work
can
out.
still prioritize, we would love the project-based vouchers and that will make the projects stronger. But we are committed to prioritizing local residents regardless of
Okay,
where we
perfect.
land. So, we're going to work with your staff to try to maximize the project-based vouchers. But either way, even if they're coming through the coordinated entry system, we're able to prioritize local residents. We've been working on that and kind of developing the framework for it. And I spoke to my leadership today, and we're able to commit to prioritizing folks within Baldwin Park and
Okay.
And that's what we want to hear.
that.
Perfect. Okay, if we can get this on the agreement that we're going to prioritize Baldwin Park residents, I'm in full support. If we're going to get 25% of our residents in there, then I'm not going to support it.
Right, I
Right.
agree.
I want
I
to.
agree.
I wanted to make it loud and clear, and nothing against you guys. I'm talking more to staff that I just want to make it loud and clear that we want to prioritize our Baldwin Park residents to get into this facility.
Yes, we
Mayor,
have had
I'm
our staff work really hard, and Eureka being one of them, to make sure that our residents are being prioritized in these 2 projects that we already have. And we want to continue that. We want to make sure we're taking care of our people.
I just want to reiterate that We absolutely agree with you on a fundamental level. And we certainly, along with the county, as Liz has just said, are planning and willing and going to prioritize Baldwin Park residents. The second layer that you get with vouchers is that you are actually in control of it. It's not us prioritizing. You don't have to rely on us being good people. If you allocate vouchers, whatever number that happens to be that your staff can come up with, that means those people have to apply through your housing department, and your staff gets to determine the tenants that go in that project. So as much as we are going to prioritize your residents for sure, you having control and local control is what you get from having the vouchers.
And if I may add just a point of clarity on the last slide, we did have some next steps. So we really wanted to make it clear to council what our recommendations for the staff report were tonight. So to provide a letter of support to the project, if that is based on the determination that there is a draft MOU that our city manager will draft with the county, noting all of your suggestions that you have shared with us tonight. Local preference has been on our top of our list at every single discussion, and I think that we have some great partners, and just the emphasis on this HomeKey 3.0 really emphasizes on that local commitment and that local that jurisdictional responsiveness to communities and local cities that, like us here in Baldwin Park, are taking those leaps of faith into supporting homeless services. So it is definitely at the forefront of all of our discussions in a very transparent way. We are looking with both our county and our HUD partners to ensure how we would go about that process. But tonight having that commitment, which we have never had in previous rounds, I think that it is definitely a way to go. The third piece of it is also to really analyze with HUD how many of those vouchers are available, and to ensure that the project we're hopeful that the project would support above and beyond what those vouchers, what that commitment to those vouchers would be. So that local preference, once again, continues to be the emphasis of our conversations with both the county and even when we started a possible application to HUD.
So if you can enlighten me a little bit, Yuriko, our people that we have at Esperanza Villa, we're looking to find permanent housing for them. Do they apply for local vouchers? How do they get transitioned into permanent housing? How does that work?
There's a variety of different ways. So there is the traditional Section 8, which we're all familiar with, but that tends to be longer and not really suitable for interim housing. Interim housing is designed for like a 30, 60, 90-day stay, which we've seen has expanded to about a 12-month period. There's also time-limited subsidy vouchers that the county provides, which have enabled us in just the last month to place 7 of our Esperanza Villa residents into permanent housing. So that is the dynamic. Like, that was the missing piece that we didn't have before. So we really took a proactive role in that interim phase, but that housing navigation and those steps in like that voucher process was what we were missing. And through the collaborations and ongoing discussions with both Daniela, the supervisor, homeless initiative team, we have now been able to address and close that gap. And we are now placing more clients into permanent housing through a variety of countywide efforts. And I know that both the county have administered an emergency ordinance that will also help us get more of those out. So to answer your question, it's a variety of different vouchers. So it could be a project-based voucher, it could be a time-limited subsidy voucher, it could be our Section 8 voucher. So just an array of different vouchers.
So in this particular situation, since it would be in Baldwin Park, which one would be the best option to move them out of Esperanza Villa to get them into permanent?
We will be working with HUD to allocate the highest percentage and gaining that technical assistance with LACTA to ensure that we get the highest percentage of that.
Okay.
If I may add, Yuriko, so the Section 8 vouchers, those are pulled from the Section 8 waiting list.
So if they're not on the waiting list, those people are the people at
Correct.
Esperanza Villa. If they're not on the waiting list,
That is correct. So it's from the 5 city, from the that consists of the housing authority.
So my question is, how do we get the people from Esperanza? We're going to do the project-based vouchers.
The service provider would work with them to match them to the appropriate vouchers. So there is commitment also from counties to allocate some additional vouchers so that it's not only, the site couldn't be sustained with just our Baldwin Park Housing Authority vouchers. So that is the kind of like the new model that we're working with, is to go above and beyond those vouchers that the Housing Authority may have access to.
Okay. All right.
The other thing I would add is you mentioned a point about, one of you mentioned a point about those people at risk of homelessness. So the other thing is that this project would also allow you to allocate some of those to not only people who meet the definition of homeless, but also who meet the definition of at risk of homelessness. So you could prevent homelessness with some of your residents also.
And the goal would absolutely be to create that pipeline between interim housing to permanent housing. In addition to that, also like the community engagement, the actual project, there will be focus groups that will be going on, and we will actually get feedback from lived experience as well to ensure that our case management, all of our wraparound services are working to the best ability to get that, to be able to close that gap and get people placed as soon as possible.
Mayor, I just have a few things to say. First of all, I want to thank everybody for their presentation. I appreciate it very much. And I appreciate the fact that you mentioned you're going to maintain the facility inside and outside, because, our staff is working, around the clock diligently in our own community. I have two other comments, but one of them is just, I guess, internal in terms of, you mentioned our housing department would be working with you in terms of identifying these people. So I guess, Ron, my question to you is that we have a person in charge or someone that we know would be the go-to person. So if we had a question specifically regarding this, that we could speak to them directly, because I know that department is, staff deficient. So I would appreciate if we had a go-to person that we would be able to ask our questions to. Okay, so that would be very important, who's handling this project for us. And then lastly, just to reiterate what my colleague said, our priority is to place our own community and our own residents and make it a priority. So if we can set a percentage of how many we can get in there, I would, like to do that as soon as possible. So thank you. I appreciate it again. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any more questions? If not,
Thank you for the presentation.
yes, and thank you for being here with us today. If not, I think we've all shared the understanding of how important it is to be a part of this and set that precedent in the HomeKeep program. So we're going to go ahead and make a motion to approve item 8. Can I have a second? City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Estrada,
Yes.
Councilmember Avila,
Yes.
Councilmember Ayala,
Yes.
Councilmember Damian.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, thank you for that, City Clerk. And so we are done with official city business, and we will move on to City Council, City Clerk, City Treasurer, staff requests, and communication. Councilwoman Avila, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to thank Sam and his crew, Public Works. I always see them out there working diligently. We've had storms, we've had crazy weather. They're always trying to clean up the mess that's out there. And not as of recent, but going back a year and a half, I talked to Sam about making sure our streets are clean, our sidewalks, our walkways. Our residents like to walk, in clean areas and have something nice to look at as they're walking all over the city. Of course, that's a big project and it takes a lot of funds. So I would like to seek consensus from our council that we start off the walkways and sidewalks along all of our schools. Because as a parent, when my children were little and there was times that I did walk them to school, I wanted to make sure it was a nice sidewalk and it was well kept with the landscaping and that it looked really nice. Not only that, the parents that stay at home, they like to go for their walks. And I noticed that they usually walk around the school areas. So I would like to prioritize our streets all along our schools, all the areas around our schools, and of course, in the future, continue with the rest of our streets. We started the project at all along the Francisquito area, and I should have asked you to put some before and after pictures, but I didn't think of it until now. If you drive by Francisquito and Baldwin Park Boulevard, between Baldwin Park Boulevard and Fraser, if you recall, right along Sierra Vista High School's football field, it was ugly, and well, some of it still is. It's sandy, that the dirt goes onto the sidewalk. It's slippery. And I know because I work at one corner and my main department is at the other corner. And sometimes I walk there and it's just ugly and not maintained well. Public Works has done an excellent job. They have changed the look of that section completely. So I know they started working on the second part. Now it ended from Baldwin Park Boulevard to the beginning of the field, and now they're going from there to Fraser. So I would like to, you get consensus, like I said, from the rest of the council that we continue, that we budget to make sure that all of our areas around the schools get worked on first so that they're nice and beautiful for our children to walk along to and from school. I think it's important. And again, I want to commend Public Works because they work really hard. And I remember those days you guys were working on, it was so hot. But thank you. And then you had to stop because then it started raining. So the weather has just been crazy. So I really would like to make sure we budget for that and prioritize what school would be next. I have one in mind, the Anza area, that's really bad. But we can do a field trip and look at all the areas to do number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, or what have you, and continue those projects, and then of course go to the rest of the city. So that is by consensus, so we can have that budgeted and put in the plan, make sure we always have enough funds to do those areas, please.
And just to clarify, the ugly parts are the ones Public Works hasn't touched.
Correct.
Which want to
Correct.
emphasize.
I did say the first part of it is beautiful. My second one is, I'm a little confused. I would like to direct staff to establish a clear understanding of the jurisdiction and responsibilities between Caltrans and the city of Baldwin Park when it comes to maintaining the freeway areas and all the surrounding corridors. It has been, I would say, a fight. We have a lot of graffiti, trash that gathers around all the areas that's very visible. And it's not pretty to look at. You know, you're exiting the freeway and it's dirty, there's trash. And yet I go to another city, and I'm going to give a great example, the city of Laverne, San Dimas area, the freeways. I don't see that. I see those areas very clean along the freeway areas. Why isn't Baldwin Park being kept the same? So I want to find out what kind of contract we have with Caltrans, who's in charge of maintaining what, and how often it's being maintained. It is my understanding, and maybe I'm not correct on this, that if we go into an area where it's maintained by Caltrans, it's illegal. Not only that, God forbid one of our staff members gets hurt in that area. Who's going to cover the injuries? They're going to say, well, you illegally came in here, you handle it. But if they're not doing the job, I know at times we've had to go in there because it's just a mess. So I would like to find out and figure out who's in charge of doing what, how often they should be cleaning, and who do we contact? Because it's a battle too. Is it not a battle to see who are we going to contact, who's going to take action? So I want to make sure that we have a good understanding with Caltrans and make sure they're upkeeping our areas around our city, and that we have clear direction in writing in a contract type style, so that we all understand who's in charge of what, and we're not jeopardizing our city staff in areas that we shouldn't be in, that areas are being maintained, because people driving through all the freeways around Baldwin Park, when they see that, they think, wow, Baldwin Park is dirty, and it's not. If you go into the rest of the city, it's not dirty. We talked about graffiti maintenance earlier. They're quick. I mean, I can wake up one morning and see graffiti, and I'll drive by there an hour later and it's gone. So we want to make sure that everybody driving around our city within the corridor of the freeway sees what we see. And we want to make sure that if we're liable for it, that we're handling, and that we have enough staff, or if Caltrans is liable to keeping it clean, that they're doing it on a regular basis and it's not, you know, a little match and butting heads with them. So if we can find clear direction on that, on who's handling what and the timelines for handling that and who our contact point person will be, please. That is all. Thank you very much.
Great. And on your point, sorry, were you going to say something, Councilmember?
No, I was just going to say, since she's talking about ugly areas, I would like to get council consensus to have Manny. Manny, if you can look into, you know, that property, I don't know if it's LADWP or SCE. It's over on the dead end, Merced, where National Little League is at. That back end there. Talk about ugly, graffiti. And I know it's, we can't go in there and do anything about it. And I know I've looked into this years ago, but if you can look into that, Manny, to see if we can try to get either a walking trail there, a dog park, something that we can put there, because all the residents that live on that whole area there, they walk up and down Merced Street. And it's not, you know, we have a brand new soccer field there that we're not even using. And I know it's not ours, it's a school district, but still, there's nowhere for these people to walk. So if we can convert that into something like that, that would be great, and it'll take away from the ugliness that's there. So if you can look into whoever owns that parcel there and see what we can do with it, if council's okay with you bringing something back.
And our goal is to continue to maintain our city beautiful, and maybe this goes to Ron now, sorry, it's not on here, but our businesses, they're not maintaining their property. So I know some, for example, the one where the 99-cent store is, they constantly have a mess. If we need to up the fines, then let's up the fines, because they don't seem to be getting the messages. The parking lot right here where Bank of America lately has become a mess as well. So if we can just make sure, and I know we're short code enforcement, but we need to be working on that, making sure that the owners of those properties are keeping their facilities, because we want our residents to be in a clean environment. I think they deserve that, and hold those people accountable. And if we need to up the fines, like I said, maybe put in the contract, if we need to change the code on what the fine amounts is going to be, then we can work on that as well. Thank you. I think that's all for cleaning today.
So, oh, and then on that point, we had given, I think we had given direction 2021, late 2021 to increase our tree canopy. And so there is an opportunity, and I think it goes well with the pairing of the ugly sides of the school sides, so we can increase some tree count there. There's an opportunity to work with Active SGV to apply for a grant from the U.S. Department of Forestry, where they can allocate enough funds to plant up to 1,000 trees in the city and up to 600 trees for community members to plant in their homes. So if it's okay with our council, we can direct our staff to connect with them and see what the possibilities are for us.
Absolutely. And I forgot to mention, sorry, let's talk to our school district on using their water lines and to make sure that it's to make the schools look better, that they're watering and they're upkeeping. And then of course we'll do the areas that, you know, get damaged, that has to be done by us. But let's work with the school district, because they're collaborating very well, and I know they want to have nice walkways. So talk to them. I know you already have talked to them to make sure that we're connecting the water lines to them, because we can't be watering with our trucks every other day. It just takes too much time from our staff.
And that is the case in Francisquito.
Yes. Yes. And again, I love the way it looks. You guys need to take a drive and see the section that's complete and the section that's not, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Although they already removed the dead tree, so it's not going to have the same impact, but it's beautiful. Thank you.
Mayor.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you. I just briefly want to thank everybody who came up and spoke. And I appreciate Lily from Waste Management and her staff coming to support Terry Muse. I also want to, I believe Councilman Damian had mentioned it earlier to me, in terms of having a scroll produced for Terry. So maybe we can have that presented to her at her celebration of life next Tuesday. So I'd like to direct staff to do that. And then I'd also like to ask my council colleagues if they're okay because I know that we're planning to plant a tree for our former city treasurer, Marie Contreras. And I'd like to ask if we can consider having one as well for Terry Muse in looking or seeing that she was such a active part of our community, especially in our Arbor Day, our spring celebration, you know, bringing waste management as a partner in that event, bringing the mulch, you know, all of that kind of great environmental, educational type of stuff. So I would like to ask my colleagues if they would support me on doing that. And last but not least, there was something I was going to say. Oh, I want to acknowledge all of their comments in terms of supporting what they want to do. And I want to acknowledge Sam and his staff for planting the trees, but I want to acknowledge one of my residents across the street on Center at Walnut School, Don Nacho, because he waters my trees outside of Center, and he needs to be acknowledged every twice a week. He will water those trees. That's why behind Walnut School on Center, those trees are living because of Don Nacho, who lives across the street. He waters them himself, brings his truck over with his, and they're living. So, yes. So, but I support you in all of what you want to do. The park near National Little League, the streets. I will take the tour with you, Councilmember Avila, because I have some areas too that we can work on. Okay, but thank you very much.
And I support the tree idea for Terry Muse, and I have the perfect spot where that tree can be planted. The tree that they killed that still no one knows what happened to up in Morgan Park by the bathrooms. It was a really nice big tree. My shade tree during the concerts was, I don't know, I was either kidnapped or killed. So that's a perfect space so we can plant a tree for Terry Muse. I would love for that. Sam, if maybe we can get a bigger tree and plant it there that has some branches, that way it starts to give shade already. And we can remember Terry every time we're sitting there. So perfect
He
spot.
wants it in time for the concerts at the park, by the way.
Yeah.
We'll take that challenge.
We're still figuring out what happened to my tree, but that's maybe it happened for a reason. Hey, maybe that it was meant for Terry to be there. So we're gonna plant it.
I don't know, but I'm sure that I have staff that knows, and I'll get to the bottom of it.
We don't have an issue like Joshua Tree National Park, do we? Where people are trees?
Yeah, most likely it was sick and diseased, and we get.
All right, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Just 2 points. Number one, I just want to thank Shirley and Crystal. I don't think we need a specific reason to thank them, but the incredible work that they're doing behind the scenes, along with Rosa, in moving our tiny democracy forward. I'm extremely proud of all the work that they're doing. So I just wanted to take an opportunity to publicly acknowledge them. Secondly, I want to share in the city and the rest of my colleagues in offering my condolences to the Muse family. It's definitely devastating news on many fronts. Terry's commitment to our community was extremely admirable. And her commitment to our community didn't stop at the political realm. It continued and continued and continued in all of her philanthropy. And so she will continue to remain an inspiration, not only to me, but to the future generations of leaders in our community. And I kind of, she served as a mentor. As many of you know, I'm a transplant to this community. Upon getting married, moved into this community. And from very early time, Terry and her husband David served as mentors, not only providing advice, but also putting their words into actions and helping me in all of my ambitions, and quite frankly, helping me land where I am today. So so I share in the loss. It is extremely devastating to have received that message from Enrique. And on top of that, I just kind of want to echo in what Lily, her counterpart or her colleague at Waste Management, kind of shared about the young leaders and that she was passionate about. And I just want to share from my own experience for the past 2 years serving alongside with her on the Kiwanis Club of Baldwin Park. She was not only instrumental in actually bringing that organization back to life in our community, an organization that I could probably spend a lot of time speaking about the great things that they are doing for our community and our students, but she was instrumental in bringing it to life and then also instrumental in creating the service scholarship that we are excited to have received 32 applications in our first year, and so it's gonna take some time to read through these applications. But her commitment to our children was like unparalleled. And in fact, in the midst of her sickness, she showed up to our meetings with our Key Club students and made sure that they were aware that we supported them. And so I hope that one day I can reach a very small level of her commitment to our community. And so with that, I close. Thank you.
Mayor, may I?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. First off, again, my condolences as well to the Muse family. I've come to know of them over the years. I actually met the Muses when I was in high school. So one of their daughters actually went to school around the same time I was there, Ballin Park. But, you know, again, just like our city clerk mentioned, hearing the passing of Mrs. Muse was utterly shocking to me. I had just spoken to her a couple weeks ago, and she was in good spirits. She was doing really well, and something I did not expect for sure. So again, my deepest condolences to everybody, all of the community who was really close to her. I know they're all missing her dearly right now. First off for that. Second, to touch back a little bit on the beautifying our community, can we take a look at what the guidelines and the restrictions or whatnot are for our community and our homeowners? Because I can tell you that there's a lot of homes in our community, and I can name a few alone in like my neighborhood, who look like they're hoarding things in their yards. They don't maintain them. The yards look like there's weeds and all kinds of other things. I could even mention some fences that look like they're a little too high than what they need to be. Can we get some information, what the restrictions, what the guidelines are for, or requirements are for code for homes in our community, so we know a little bit more on that, and maybe retouching or modifying what some of those codes are? Thank you.
That's a great point, and I know as soon as we have full staff, Ron, I know we've discussed that before, or how we're gonna make our residents accountable for doing that, but I know as soon as we have more staff, Ms. Joanna, that's definitely going to go into work.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for your comments, and we look forward to staff. Sam, don't forget to take the ugly out of our streets. We look forward to it. And thank you, everybody. We'll see you at the next meeting. Good night, everybody. Good night. Oh, sorry. Thank you for adjourning. So a motion to adjourn, seconded by Councilmember Damian. Hey,
No.
It doesn't matter. Okay. No, and we'd like to adjourn in memory of Terry Muse. And so, motion, seconded by Councilmember Damian. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Great. Mayor Estrada?
Yes.
Councilmember Damian? Yes. Councilmember Avila?
Yes.
Councilmember Ayala?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. We're adjourned.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.